And hello, everyone. It is I, the Roguescaper. Sorry for that little wait. We were having some technical difficulties getting started, as is the nature of the live beast. But I am excited to be here. Different house and the Renegade channel compared to where I normally do. For those that don't know me, I am the Roguescaper, avid Heroscaper, mini painter, and just kind of the guy that kind of likes to do this kind of stuff. So today we're going to be painting Misaerx. I'm really excited to kind of get this going, and it's an awesome figure. Figure that is getting more powerful with each new release, and each new release, her life drain ability can, more warriors are released can exponentially make them more powerful. I'm a little nervous to be here today, but I'm going to shake out the wiggles, and we're going to kind of get some paint on this figure. Here is the pre-painted Misaerx. Pretty nice paint job. You got the reds, the weird pinkish, and the gray is the primary color. We're going to try to stick to this kind of color scheme as much as possible. We might make some artistic deviations, but that's kind of the joy of painting. You get to make it your own while still kind of sticking within the preset boundaries. If you notice, I just put some colors on this just to test to see where I wanted to go, but for the most part, I just primed this mini black. I think it's a good starting point, but if you want to be a bit faster in your paints, I'd recommend priming gray or white. It saves you a bit of time on the layering process. But I think without further ado, we will get this going. I'm really excited. Renegade released today a new scenario, and if we have time, I will definitely be looking into that a bit more. There's a lot of new lore. It's like honey, new lore just dropped kind of mentality. I was reading through it. I don't remember all the named characters' names, but there's mentions of bards and wizards and other fun Heroscape stuff. If you're just tuning in and kind of wondering what Heroscape is, it is just a game that is hex-based. Pretty much warriors from all time and places and whatnot are put in the battlefield to battle it out. It's a pretty fun game, and I'm glad Renegade is picking it up and bringing it back. We got some people in the chat saying T-Money, woohoo, Roguescaper. Yeah, thanks so much for the support. The community is great, and honestly, you all encourage me just to keep on doing what I'm doing, so I really appreciate all the love and support you all send me. And Hex Holla says, great to see a great member of the community being here. I don't know, great member. That's still up for debate, but, I I appreciate the comment. I'd say I'm on the council, but I'm not a master yet, type of mentality. And right now, I'm going to be trying to stick to army painter paints for the most part. As I was kind of getting the palette set up today, I noticed I was missing some colors I wanted to use, so I might dip my toe into some other brands, but there's army painter equivalents that you kind of can match and will work just as well. Today we're starting off with a black red from Vallejo. It's got a nice kind of deep red to it for Misaerx's cloak. It's almost got some purple undertones. When I was kind of planning these colors out, I really wanted to not make it look kind of like the prominent deep reds of like the Utgar figures, but kind of give it a bit more of a personality. So we're going to try to add some purple subtones to this and really just get this going. And just making sure everything's going good. We had some technical issues getting started. It's my first time being here, so you gotta work out all the bugs, but so thank you for everyone for waiting. I do apologize that we're a bit later, but we're getting this going. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, or something, if there's any issues, let me know. I am painting and monitoring and fixing everything as I go, so I got my hand in 3 different spots. If you want to know about the process or the character, I'd love to talk more about this. And just adding a nice even coat to this right here. This is a figure I've been wanting to kind of get some paint on for a little bit, just because it's a really cool sculpt. It's got this kind of voodoo Halloween-esque vibe to it, which I'm a fan of, and there's a lot of really interesting colors we can add to this. And a lot of unique. I love painting bone. Like, bones are a really fun thing to paint. I always say to someone looking to get into mini painting, buy a bunch of skeletons. Because they're cheap, and you can get a bunch of them pretty affordable, and work on layering up that bone color. You'll learn a lot of good techniques, dry brushing or highlighting. It's a really great way to practice. When I first started, I just I painted like 50 skeletons, and I tried to paint a skeleton a day for like 3 months just to kind of get that flow up going. And I like the skelly boys, so you need those. Need that practice there. Now I'm just kind of painting over these bone areas just so they're very small. We're going to have to kind of go down to a nice detail brush. So you want to keep your paints thin and apply it, but honestly trying to avoid the areas. It's just going to take too much time. So just it's better to have a nice consistent layer and then kind of work your way up from that. William Woolman says, what makes you decide to use white primer versus black primer versus zenithal? Now that's a really interesting question, just because one is how much paint primer I have on hand is a is a big thing. Zenithal is really great, but I've been using it less and less, just mainly because I've been wanting to practice on working on my own highlights. But I really use zenithal for things like awashia, things where there's lots of complex curves and shapes, kind of like this, where it's hard to see where the light's coming from. I don't use a lot of contrast paints or speed paints, so really that's the ideal moment is to use zenithal. But it's great for just kind of giving you a general outline of where lights are. So like Awashia is great, but like I didn't really do it too much for the Frost Claws, just because I want to build up that white itself. I don't use white a lot. I only really use white if I have to. It's probably my least favorite color to prime with. That's if I want to speed paint something really fast. I just find it kind of hard to layer over, and it looks kind of splotchy. I've seen people do it better, just the way I paint doesn't look very good. The advantages of white primer is that it primarily makes the colors underneath look brighter and lighter, which is really good if you're going for a very vibrant, your bright oranges, reds, purples, and stuff like that. That's when you want yellows especially, is want that bright undertone. But for the most part, I like to work dark, kind of know where the shadows are, and then work my way up. And then black primer is great for armor. Besides personal preference, it's great for armor, and I like doing it on faces. There's a split camps on that, just because then you have it completely dark, and faces can get really muddy really fast if you aren't careful. Hope that answers your question briefly. Christopher says, what do you use to hold the figures while you're painting? Is it sticky tack? Yeah, I got some Gorilla sticky tack. It's nice and strong, but it doesn't leave any residue. It pops right off. And just put it right. This is just a cut PVC pipe right here with a little cap on it. And nice cheap solution. There's more official looking solutions out there. Now that I'm not working with prints or stuff like that, there's actually bases, so you can get stuff that holds the base down. But I'm always trying to save a quick buck if I can, because I find those things to be a bit overpriced. There's also 3D print models available. If you get a printer, you can print up a nice little handle to use. But Gorilla Sticky Tack I found works really good. It's nice and strong. I've used some cheaper stuff before, and it just plops off right into your paint, and that's not a good day. That's nothing like layering up a Frost Claw, all that white, and having it plop right into some red. That's I'm talking, so I'm not really explaining what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of just getting this base coat on, making sure I'm not missing any areas. And since this is the first layer, I'm not really caring too much if I get into other colors. We're keeping our paints pretty thin, so it's easy to cover up these mistakes. And all this tiny stuff, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with this. Just probably a bunch of detail work is probably the best way, but we want these spaces all filled up, no gaps. Black primer is also great if you have a lot of details like this, like the exiles and stuff like that. Because if you miss a spot, it looks like, you know, kind of a deep recess. It looks like shadow is just there. Saves you a bit. It's a good way to be lazy. Oh yeah, totally welcome, Christopher. I love stuff. I think I'm in focus, but if not, let me know. I need an extra 3 set of eyes. So excited for Heroscape, looking good so far. Well, thank you. Yeah, Heroscape is back. You know, I'm one of those people that have not stopped playing, so I am super excited. I'm super excited just that it's got painted and unpainted versions out there. You know, I do appreciate the fact that people want to dive into this awesome game. You know, you can't go wrong with that. Opening the box and playing the same day. But I also do love that there's just so many awesome and unique paint jobs out there. You know, just people engaging with the figures and creating their own ideas. In this unique only kind of meta we got going on now, it's going to be nice seeing a bunch of actually unique figures on the board. So someone made a Winnie the Pooh Night Irene the other day, which is amazing. I know friends Hexala said they wanted to do some evolutions for Kita, so just that personality in the game is great. This game really inspired me to do a lot of things I do now. You know, the writing, kind of that kitchen sink aspect really inspired me to write and get into film and production. And then that led to graphic design, and then that kind of led to painting. I actually kind of got into painting from graphic design because, you know, if you work with Photoshop, you kind of get the idea of layers and blending. So that was kind of something that really just translated really easily for me. You know, it was the pandemic. I was pretty bored, didn't have much to do, and I had a lot of... I was actually, like, looking for just, like, custom... There's a lot more unpainted options compared to pre-painted options for Heroscape. So that's kind of what inspired me. I was like, you know, this is a cool dragon, but it's unpainted. But I need a blue dragon for my army. So I just figured I'd paint it. It wasn't very good, but then I got kind of addicted. Kept on doing it for a bit. And Hexal says he thinks Rowan is done with it. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a Flareon variant, so that's pretty awesome. I haven't had any like super unique takes on any of my things. They've just kind of been more alt color schemes compared to like references. Like this is Raylan I'm working on, slowly layering up my white. But you know, this is the what if evil Raylan was actually good variant. But that one hasn't been finished just because I've been working on other projects. Okay, just making sure this is all got a nice solid coat on. We're gonna really buff this up and really get some fun highlights on this right here. Yeah, if you asked me if Heroscape would ever be back, and then that would also be kind of working, you know, on it and on some level, we're painting and doing some videos, I would not have believed you if you told me that a couple years ago. So I'm extremely grateful for all Renegade has done, how they're kind of reaching out to the community, and just how they're really kind of reaching us, for lack of a better word, weirdos that like Heroscape. But you know, it's for anyone. You don't have to be a weirdo, but you know, you're you may be drawn to it if you are one. It's okay. I mean that as a compliment. So, I don't paint as good when I'm on stream because I do start monologue. So, I gotta actually focus on what I'm doing here. Okay. And I'm just using a Monument size 4 brush. They got some pretty good brushes, pretty good workhorse brushes there. Really. Starting off, it doesn't really matter what brush you use. It's more the size and the tip of it. And I'd recommend just getting a variety of cheap brushes, because odds are if you're starting painting, you're going to destroy them. And they're going to be an absolute mess. Alright, so that we're going to let that dry a bit, but the wings are a bit kind of farther apart from the rest of it, so we should be good. I kind of made this mixture before the stream started, but I'll kind of explain how I got there. Now, if you look at this Misaerx, this is a very unique shade of pink-brown. You know, it's kind of like it's almost a puce type color. It's not a color that you might find very instantly out of the bottle. So what colors did I make to get here? So I used, find them as I moved them around. I used Moldberry from Army Painter, and then I used Topaz Skin and a little bit of Tomb King Tan, and kind of mix them together. I'm of course going to make this a bit brighter, but it gives me a nice orangish purplish tan tone that will be really nice to kind of build up from. And normies are welcome, LOL. Yeah, they're totally welcome. If you're a normie, you can play this game too. And can't wait for the Phantom Knight variant candy. Yeah, you know, you gotta have that shiny, glowy stuff. Let's put just a bit more tan in it. Make a nice neutral. You don't want it too bright, so let's work on lowering this down. And then Louis says Renegade is the best. I have to say they're pretty great. Cannot complain. Any brand that makes Heroscape, you know, they're A-okay in my book. I've been wanting to try out some of their other RPGs and other games, a couple other campaigns right now, but I'm hoping that we get a Heroscape RPG someday. That's my on my wish. Now this is a bit brighter than the wings, but we're gonna add some wash to this. When you are adding washes, you kind of want to think a bit brighter, because especially Army Painter washes, they tend to kind of filter it down. So I always recommend painting a shade or two brighter, so you can kind of get, you know, your colors don't become too muted or too gray. Just working on adding a nice, even coat of coverage. The Army Painter line is their new Fanatic stuff. Is really good. I'm really impressed with their coverage. Anyone looking to start painting Scape, I definitely would recommend that you check them out. You know, I'm not paid or endorsed by them, but their new line is really great. Got good pigmentation, good coverage, pretty consistent. And they got a lot of colors and beginner-friendly packs to choose from. And Zombie says, love Heroscape back in the day and was so surprised to see it in my LGS, as I had no idea it was to be rebooted. But everything unpainted, and I'm excited to get down this rabbit hole of painting. Yeah, I say it's a worthy endeavor. It's one, it's exciting that it's back, and two, that you get to paint it and make it your own. Definitely just it's, we live in a good time right now, you know. All the work Heroscape took to get on the shelves here, it's finally paid off. It's it feels very much like just fruition. It finally happened. And excited that it's at local stores too. You know, I haven't had a chance to visit my LGS yet. I've been pretty busy, but also my wife doesn't let me go as much because I'm like a kid in a candy store, and I'm like, ooh, what's this color do? And I buy it, and I have no restraint, and I have no regrets for not having restraint. Going late, just saw the post on channel page. Well, welcome, Justin. You know, now the party started. I say now this is where we're at. I was trying just to stall until you got here, but now we're kicking it overdrive. And you notice I'm just kind of keeping this kind of thin, and just kind of spreading this around here. I'm trying to get some tournaments going at my LGS because it's a pretty big one. It's got lots of space, and I know they probably would be into it. I talked to them, and they said they're kind of very excited about the game returning, but they're looking for some community leaders to support. So, I mean, I might have to dive into that. I know there's a couple. I'm located in Kansas. I know there's a couple Kansas-scapers I've interacted with, but I'm trying to get a good, strong scene going here. Getting there. Let's see here. Painting live does present some challenges because typically you want this to wait, but I'm going to be kind of impatient and kind of get this going as well. So I'm going to be doing these details last. Probably add another layer to her cloak. Let's get a little bit of the skin tone going. So I mixed. We're going to kind of do something a bit unique on the skin tone. Just a little bit of a deviation from the classic scheme. We're getting some necrotic flesh and some... Oh, what kind of skin tone am I using? Everything kind of tipped over when I started streaming, so I lost placement of the names. It's the light skin, topaz skin. Not topaz skin. I will get back to you as soon as I find it. It's a very light skin tone. And we kind of mix them together to make this nice, gross-looking gray. That's going to be our base coat for the flesh. And probably pulling this down just a little bit. You don't want it to come out too clunky, too clumpy, because then you lose those awesome details every once in a while. And we're gonna have to add probably a couple layers to this just to build this up, but you want to also make sure, that's why these handles are great, to get underneath the arms. That will mess you up. Forget those, you think, oh, my model's great, then you take a picture of it from a low angle. You're like, oh no, I forgot the arms. And Justin drove 80 minutes on Saturday to attend an event, and he went 3-3. Could have been 4-2, but the Viper played. He gets frenzied 6 or 7 times. Unreal. Yeah, I mean, you can't. You just got to be impressed at your opponent's luck at that point. Like, there's not much you can do. I think the maximum frenzies I got was 9 turns on the first round against a new player. Unfortunately, they never played after that. So, you know, note to the wise: don't frenzy if on your new recruits 9 times in a row. We spin Elgrim and 2 times Knights of Weston, Frostclaws, and Irene. I do gotta say, I'm loving the Frostclaws and Irene. They are just powerhouse units. I was training my brother-in-law on those guys. He was playing them at ScapeCon. And they are they're fun. They're surprisingly fast. And, you know, once we get those new Frostclaws we saw hinted at Gen Con, man, I think they're going to be a power horse, a power bear on the battlefield. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're really fun to paint. Nice, big, chunky sculpts, and they're fun. I had a lot of fun painting them for my tutorial video I made on my channel, and it was one of the harder videos I made just because white's really hard to explain how to paint. I mean, we're going to be kind of going into this a bit today, but the best way to paint white is to not paint white. Your brain wants to make things white or different colors based on the colors around it. And part of painting good white is tricking your brain using subtones and underlayer to really get that. We got some on the cloak, but that's okay, we'll cover that up. That's why I like to kind of put all my layers down. I have slightly shaky hands, and I do this live a lot, so I don't always pay attention. And 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 so it's good to be able to cover up your mistakes and kind of fix any parts you miss. Get in here. And Hixhala says he'll never frenzy still haunts me. From their recent video, yeah. Famous last words. I really like this unit. It's got some chutzpah on it. Alright, so let's work on, for a second, we're going to work on getting some bone stuff going here. Let's make a nice mix for the bone. We're going to use, do we want cool bones or warm bones here? That's the question. I haven't considered this. Pretty much when you paint bones, there's kind of two options, or the three options, neutral, cool, or warm. You can kind of make it more have like a tannish brown subtones, more like bluish subtones, or kind of grayish subtones. I think based off the model, we're going to go more, let's go with a nice, just kind of neutral tone. Let me get some Dusty Skull. And we are going to get this. Where's my plaque at? This plaque. I'm just looking for my. I'm going to use Basalt Gray from Vallejo, just a nice dark gray. Just to darken it, but not make it totally black. Gotta have coffee. Yeah, I'm more coffee than blood in my body at this point, but you know. And just kind of mix this together like this. Make. In my water cup, I have like a scrubby, which is nice, which helps get that water, that paint that goes deep down in the barrels. And when you want it kind of thin, like that. There we go. Thin but solid. That's what we're going with. I have drank my paint water when I have my coffee too close to my table. Dangerous ichor, you know, that is, but and thank you so much for saying, so happy to see you on the official Heroscape streams. Oh, a nice haircut. Thank you. Yeah, it was a high time. My hair grows really fast. It's really like weeds on my head. And then I finally found a haircutting place that remembered how I like to get my haircut. Because I go in and I get so nervous, and then I don't remember what my numbers are, and I just kind of sometimes I used to just randomly throw out two numbers and hope for the best. Thankfully, this place remembers and just says the usual, and I say I think so. And I had to look all official for today's stream. You know, you go to someone else's house, you gotta look nice. Did anyone read the new scenarios? Any thoughts on kind of that big lore that was kind of dropped today? I don't have in front of me, but there was definitely some really cool things. I appreciate how they called him Taro the Hatamoto, which is actually accurate because Hatamoto is just means flag bearer. Bring a picture of Brad Pitt from Fury and ask for that for a barber. You know, that works too. Whatever kind of floats your boat there. I'll take the Fury Pit, please. Nice to get some substantial lore, old unit callbacks, and future teases. Yeah, I kind of want that bard to show up. like yesterday, but I guess I'll have to wait. Now I'm thinking I might keep these horns black just to cause it to be a bit different. We're getting there. Let's see here. And scat. The things in her hair, I think that's bone as well, it looks like. And I'm not painting this necessarily the fastest way possible. You know, you could always paint this a bit faster with contrast paints or speed paints, or by using, you know, just a brighter base tone. But I like kind of building it up and taking my time on this kind of stuff. Especially for live stream, gives you a lot more to work on. You're very excited for Cool's Bard. Yeah, I forget his name, but yeah, especially since he's like an A to the dragon. You know, he's just my dragon lady. I haven't played the scenario yet. I gotta find someone to play that with me. I kinda have to. I played a lot with my dad, so I kind of have to tell him that it's back. And my brother-in-law plays now with me, but he's been pretty busy. He's having a baby, which means I'm going to be an uncle pretty soon, so I'm excited about that. It's just that time of year where everyone realizes, oh wait, I'm busy. My kids are in school, and summer has ended. That free time you had, that's gone now. You want to see a unicycle riding bard playing a unicycle riding a bear bard, but that's the direction it'll take. You know what? In Heroscape, anything is possible. Some things are more unlikely than others, but like a circus performer bard, that'd be kind of fun. I wouldn't want to be a polar bear. I think like a what are those sun bears? Those like little sun bears. They're kind of goofy looking. I would like that as the bespoke bard. Yeah, I wonder what kind of species. It'd actually be kind of cool for it to be from Arboreus, with where's it Sinithrax is from. Kind of just like a different take on the wizards. Kind of more of a, you know, because like you have your Washia and your Rakshot and all of them, and they're like kind of heavy and serious. But kind of more of like a fey or whimsical part of nature would be really cool to see. Get these undersplits. And for those that may not have noticed yet, the art, the overlay for the stream does feature, I think, some art for the Hellforge and the big alien. What are they called? The big alien space bugs. That I think hasn't been seen yet. I may be wrong on that, but it's kind of a first look at that art. I am working on the Hellforge for Renegade Con coming up, so going to be doing a tutorial kind of similar to that Raylan, that one that released last time. For those wanting to get that big angry oven painted, so definitely stay tuned for that. I think this Renegade Con is going to be pretty happening, just judging by the layout. You know, I'm really excited to actually hear the developers in that roundtable, and it's going to give some really awesome insights. I really love kind of the process of like how this kind of got from just a concept to the table. You know, I think it'll be a really delightful listen, so I'm excited for that. Plus whatever the previews they have. and you know, the inevitable things I'll have to pre-order for sure are going to be be exciting. I'm just kind of painting around, just blocking out my colors here now. Yeah, the Hellforge is he's awesome. Nearby. Get in trouble? No, I don't have him nearby. You're lucky. Yeah, he's over there. I was gonna show him, but I'll keep on painting. I'm easily distractible, so it doesn't take much for me to go on side quest. All right, let's see here, and let's get a nice dark gray going. Might be a bit loud. It's not the music on the stream. But, let's see here. What am I looking for? Ah, yes, gray. Now, the British spelling of gray is, I think, the more appropriate one. Grey just never doesn't feel right to me. Actually, no, other way around. Gray doesn't feel right to me. I like Grey. Now, where is my black paint? Now, for everyone getting into mini painting, the most important tool you can have is a paper clip for your clogged bottles. Do not squeeze these because it will just squirt all over your palette and make a bit of mess. Although it's kind of a rite of passage. You know, losing a whole bottle of paint while you're doing the process. But, you know, not all traditions need to continue. So we're just kind of mixing. I didn't have any dark gray on hand, so we're just mixing a bit of light gray and black to make the tone I like. You notice I have a lot of paints, but you can really go far just by mixing your paints, and especially with blacks and whites, just to create different hues for what you want and need. I make a lot of videos about it, so I don't like to. More I get lazy. I don't want to have to explain every time I mix two colors together in a video to how to mix it. There might put a little bit more. But definitely experiment with making different hues and shades. You know, making your own skin tone is a bit hard to do at first, but once you kind of get to that point, you have a lot more flexibility. I'm just making sure. I like to use my hand as a palette just to make sure things not too wet after I moistened it. And if you notice I put a bit on here, now I'm just kind of working on just spreading this around and so it doesn't dry thick. Sometimes you put a bit more paint than you usually think. You want to work with it fast before it dries so that you can still spread around and leave these nice little details and crevices still intact. And favorite collection of the HasLab were Clockwork Combine and Ironclad Collective. Unfortunately, Renegade decided to release both later in the release cycle. However, that gives more time to follow up with the Pirates. Yeah, I will say those are both my favorite factions. I think the what do they call it? I can't remember the name of the space bugs. If someone wants to remind me, what's their species called? I know everything else, but the big space bugs are my favorite more than the Misaerx. But the more I've been seeing the Misaerx sculpts and powers, they're eking their way to the top. I think the pirates are a very subtle faction to use. You really gotta know a lot about placement and movement, but they're the most glass cannoniest units I think in the game. If you can use them well, they'll decimate your enemy. They'll rip them to shreds. But you really got to be tentative with your order marker management and your placement and just all of that. think I'm gonna even make this darker. There's lots of whites and grays and blacks in this, so you definitely want to use different hues to make them all stand out a bit more. Notice that's why I'm mixing these colors with other colors, is just to give them a bit of subtlety when I'm painting them. It doesn't look like a big amorphous blob. It's bones in the gray, fur. Oh, but we got that red lining around it. That will separate it, which is good. Always look for separating colors. You know, if you have... I'm just being messy in there. If you are kind of working with lots of similar colors, like the pirates, you want to really, work with different colors of brown. You can use a warm brown for the buckles and a light brown for the leather pads and all that stuff. You add some variety. Let's get these little wings done here. Now, wing veins are kind of hard to paint. You just want to take your time on them. You want to probably do it in the beginning stages before your all your additional layers are done. You don't want it to. You want it to flow, but not be too runny, because otherwise we'll just run into the wing itself. And you want to just go all around and make sure you get every part of them. Next is Warbrood. Nemesis Warbrood, yes. Yes, those guys, they are bees knees. Pun intended. Angry Space Bees, I can get behind that. Spordire, yeah, that's it. So many different names I have to remember, Between this and the custom units and the classic units and the new units, my internal hard drive is a bit depleted. Can't tell you what day my birthday's on, but I can tell you the stats of the zombies Moradin. Now, if you notice, I'm kind of using my brush and kind of going a bit, not like using the tip of my brush or the side of my brush. I'm kind of going at an angle, just because these are kind of curved. I'm trying to follow the curves of the wings best I can. And I'm using a wet palette right here, which is a great tool if you're kind of working on a bunch of different colors at the same time, because it keeps the paint fresh. Essentially, a wet palette is just a sponge with a piece of parchment paper on it and a sealable lid with water kind of placed underneath the sponge, just so it keeps your paints live or fresh. It's a great tool for many painters to have if you're kind of looking into it, getting started in this. You can make your own relatively cheap, or there's kind of some pre-made ones online that are affordable. Great way to keep your paints fresh, saves you a lot of money in the long run, and keeps mixtures that you have on the palette kind of active while you're figuring out what you're doing with the model. These are very unique wings. Painted 60 indie figures in my life, picked them up after the HasLab, decided to go with premium painted editions. However, I'm putting the unpainted editions on your Christmas list. You can never have enough Scape, and that's kind of the great part, is that you can kind of get that base set, and then you can be like, you know what, let's make some of my own. Especially the battle box. It's very, like, the unpainted battle box is a very great way. I think it's probably the best deal out of it all. It's just a really great way just to get some figures to paint on and, test it out, test your skill, and just have fun with it. I always say that, like, playing Heroscape is really fun, but realistically, the amount of time you have to play the game and interact with the game, you know, after you kind of invest in it, is limited by other people. The great part about painting is that, you know, I bought this Misaerx, and instead of just having this Misaerx, you know, open it up and like, oh, this figure's so cool, and then waiting, you know, 1 or 2 months to play with whoever I can grab, I get to grab this figure and paint it and talk about it and kind of engage with the figure on a more personal level. You know, when I see it on the battlefield, I'll be like, yeah, I painted it. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this figure, and now it's, you know, now I get to play with it. And I like a grizzly bear version of Irene, inspired by Marvel's Wolverine, complete with black jacket. Best part of Battle Box's trees, just wish they included the rules as well. Yeah, that's, I mean, thankfully the rules are available online, but I can definitely see how that's kind of a bit of an issue. I didn't even really look through the instructions that closely, so that would be a good, I think, thing to include in future releases, just so people kind of know what to do with them, and how it interacts. But it's not a bad entry point, I'd say. I like these new trees. I've been messing around with them, just putting some paint on them, and I do like just all the details on the sculpts, the blades, the sculpts, and the trunks and all that stuff. Make sure we're in our focus square. There we go. I'm gonna drift off of it, and I have my marks when I'm painting. Because if I go over here, I'm not in frame, I'm not focused, so I gotta be like, paint the miniature and watch where my I like to move around a lot when I'm painting, just because that's just how I do it. Follow my marks. Now I just mixed a little bit of a lighter color into it just to slowly start bringing up the color. And you have some cool ideas, trees too, once you get them. They are great in the box. Yeah, I love the trees. I had some of the old Takala jungle, but now I think I might have too many trees. I don't know if I ever thought I'd say that, but you know, I'm I think I bought like 2 or 3 sets, plus the master sets and the battle box. So I'm like, oh wait, I think I'm need to rearrange my storage solution here. I kind of had to rearrange my whole room just in preparation for this. I converted my garage into kind of a studio paint area, display area for all my stuff, and I was like, wow, I need to clear off a whole shelf just for Sinithrax. Her wingspan is impressive. But I think I get my system down right. That's the only downside of painting your figures, is that you want to show them off. It kind of hurts to put them in a box. You know, you're like, I painted this. I want to show everyone that walks in. So that makes storage a bit, a bit more of a booger. And if you notice, I got onto the wing area. We were going to cover this up, but we went nice and consistent. The hardest part about wing grains is kind of that underside. You really want to make sure you get that, make sure it's all fully filled in. And once we put a wash in, it's going to kind of seal in some of these missing areas that we may have missed. Just wish the lines didn't blend as much as they do. Might try to paint them purple. I used some speed paint on mine with some green, and it looked really nice. Like I said, I bought so many trees, I didn't feel the need to do more. But it just kind of adding some kind of wash and shades to those already great details is a great way to really buff them up. Hexhalla has a tower of terrain now. It's kind of scary. Yeah, yeah. Are you enjoying your new sparkly water tiles? I feel like I'm rapidly losing my elite Heroscape status as the common man gets their their sparkly towers. Now I don't have anything to be proud of or brag about. And this part, we're just being careful, not to get it on parts we already painted. Just adding, kind of cleaning up the parts we missed here. And if you notice, I added a lighter tone. That was kind of an accident. I grabbed the wrong part. But I'm using that to my advantage, and it's kind of wet blending in with this darker tone. Since they're both kind of wet paints, I'm just kind of blending them together. So it looks like it's kind of flowing and kind of creating some nice brightness and darkness on the wing that we're going to further accentuate with highlights and lines later. Yeah, I have a Tower of Terrain. You have 4 or 5 castles? Yeah, I lost track. I kept on finding them at Goodwill and garage sales after the game released. It was just kind of more luck than anything. And I was like, wow, how do I have so many? I don't really need this many, except for when I do Helm's Deep type stuff. Especially with Lava and Snow reprints teased for 25 missed out. Yeah, so the Lava and Snow that was hinted at EscapeCon or Gen Con is definitely up there. I don't need snow as much, just because I took a lot of my old Marvel terrain and turned that to snow. But lava tiles I could use, because currently as is, they are quite fragile. And every time I build a lava map, I have to break one. Alright, let's add... got a lava set off eBay a few years ago, but I had 3 of the 10 lava pieces break in a matter of months. Yeah, it's so fragile that the plastic used in the old lava sets is almost tragic. You know, I think I have one. Yeah, I have one that broke that I was going to repair, but then the same day it broke, they announced they're going to release some more. So I was like, I'll just keep it here in case anyone ever mentions broken lava again on live for that painting Renegade. This very situation, or I just forgot about it. I won't tell. But yeah, it's I love lava. I think I used to not like lava as much, but now I really it's a really fun way to include in your maps, especially when it's using like competitive maps. Lava competitive maps are the best because there's a lot of give and take on where the lava's at and what do you want to do with it. Let's see, so go through here. I forgot the little red headband. And we're just going to clean up now as we move to the next part. You notice my chair, I use that just to wipe my excess paint off. Probably don't do that if you care about your chair. That's a bad habit I have. You could be better than me. But, you know, I am who I am. Now, especially probably the hardest part of this model right here is this space with the neck behind the head. You will definitely, if I honestly realized it beforehand, I would have recommended painting that part first as to not get it on the rest of your model. Give it to Tales of All. The time you send him figures, use Broken Molten pieces, the most recent short. That is true. Maybe I'll send some to my good friend Tails. Tails is another Heroscape YouTuber, and cannot recommend them enough. Actually, very much of an inspiration for what I do on my channel. Not necessarily direct, but just he was an individual that just encouraged me to keep on trying all this stuff out. So can't recommend their channel enough. And just a genuinely nice guy. Like, he does stop motion animation with Heroscape, which is really cool. A lot more patience than I have. People think, "Oh, you're so patient. You're just sitting here for hours painting." And I'm like, I guess I am, but I have to. I have to actively just not try to be lazy when I'm painting, and focus. I don't just mess up the whole thing and be done with it. It'll look better if you take a little bit more time. So I do that. I'm a very impatient painter, though. That's something I'm trying to overcome. That's it. Is just taking time to layer up and fill in the gaps you miss. But I just want to get to the next color and get it done half the time. What's the little space like? Alright. So that is actually on the chest. There's so many fun little details on this. I'm just kind of trying to see where I want it all to go. I'll look at this here. Okay. Gonna make the skin tone a bit more solid. Paint is naturally translucent. If you have it slightly thinned down, and you want to kind of use that translucency to build up color. And when someone says a solid coat of paint, essentially that means you've built up the translucency all the way so that you can't see the colors underneath it. Now you can do that right out of the bottle by putting your paint on the bottle, but that skews all the details. So it's best just to thinly build up those layers. Painting a movie or good conversation are one of my favorite ways to pass the time. That's why I really like painting live. It's I get to talk about things while I'm painting. And do that because I'm currently in a show hole. I don't have really anything good to watch at this time. So talking to people is the next best bet. I don't know if this is showing up on camera, but this is a really nice. Let's see if I can get a bit closer. This is like got some nice green-gray subtleties to it, and it's gonna be really nice once we start kind of building up some highlights. But it still appears as white, but there's no white in it. It just looks brighter than everything else. Allow me to blow my nose for a second. Allergies have been ravaging my nose and sinuses lately. So our area is having like the worst hay fever time. So I was almost debilitated from. I was feeling so bad from it. I was like, am I sick again? No, just allergies. That's honestly why I've been a bit delayed on making some more videos. I was like, I can't voice over like this. I saw watch the 90s cartoon Exo Squad. That's a field suggestion for me. Alright, I'll have to see if I can find it anywhere. I like shows that I can kind of just have where I don't have to like watch every second. Because sometimes like I can't put the Lord of the Rings. Well, oh, the appendices? Yeah, you can put that on the background. But you can't just put Lord of the Rings on and start painting. You'll just end up watching Lord of the Rings. It's too awesome of a movie to ignore. A Heroscape show would be really cool. You know, I don't think it should be live action. I think just one, I love animation and cartoons, but just the budget of the scope and the scale, I think would be a lot better done as a 2D animated show. You know, kind of the scope of like Avatar or something. It could even, you know, I want the guy who made Samurai Jack to make the Heroscape show, because Samurai Jack is essentially kind of a smaller version of Heroscape. You know, it's one of my favorite shows. Very influential. Now, that's a fun video. It's just top 10 movies for Heroscaper, movies or shows for Heroscaper to watch. I just go into some fun kind of genre mashing or kind of time, you know, have Vikings fight samurai type movies. There's a couple out there that'd be kind of fun. Started watching Step by Step on Mac, just the 90s version of Brady Bunch. I watched a lot of the Brady Bunch growing up for some reason. I think I didn't have cable, but my parents always got those DVDs from the library, and so I just kind of watching a lot of that by proxy. Marsha. But Step by Step. Let's see. Amazon shows Secret Level is doing Warhammer and Dungeons & Dragons. They can do Heroscape, and they can spin off its own show. And the 2D animated Heroscape commercials were fantastic. I was watching some of them the other day. They got a certain charm to them for sure. Some things I would definitely change for the modern era, but I think for Heroscape to work, it needs to take itself really seriously. It can't be like a tongue-in-cheek thing. But I think it can add some subtlety to it beyond kind of, you know, Saturday morning cartoon deepness, because there's some really interesting stories there. At the heart of Heroscape is Sergeant Drake Alexander, who is a noble guy who wants to do the right thing, but ultimately wants to return home so he can do the right thing to his own people. You know, so it's a very compelling storyline. If I was to do the Heroscape show, and regardless if it was animated or live action, the first season, I would do the origin story of like 6 or 7 of the main characters we would follow. Like the first, so episode 1 just opens up, cold open on Norway. And it's just there's no explanation, it's just exploring Sergeant Drake and his relationship with the airborne elite, and kind of just explores that. At the end of the episode, you know, he gets summoned, and that's it. There's no explanation, there's no follow-up. Episode 2, we follow Carr around, you know, and future New York, and we just kind of see what he's in. We like get all the main characters, and then just no explanation. Episode 3, we just jump to a fantasy realm. We just see all the elves and dragons, all that stuff, and then, you know, people that don't know be like, what the heck is going on here? People that do know be like, can't wait till this is like established. I think that's the only way to do it. You know, that's season 1. Season 2 explores or half of season 1, last half of season 1 actually explores the conflict. You have some really stellar fight scenes, some really cool set pieces, and we really establish Utkar, whatever you say it, as a villain. Season 2, we start to develop the swamp storyline, which I think is really cool, but we're not there yet. You know, that's probably season 3 material. Really, when season 2 is all about just establishing the stakes of the war, really diving full into that. Season 3 opens with the Morrow and the synergies. I may or may not have written a rough script for this in high school, but if I ever find it, I'll have to do a script with it. But, you know, I like painting, but I also like directing and film and stuff with it as well, so If Renegade ever wants anyone to direct the Heroscape movie, I'm right here. And the 2D animated Heroscape commercials were fantastic. I do just love that 3D and 2D styling they had. It makes me kind of nostalgic for that time where they kind of blended those two mediums together. For some reason, pink and gray is one of my favorite combinations to see. It's really just, I don't know, it tickles my brain. It makes me happy. We had some wet paint now. I'm kind of waiting for this to dry up a bit. We'll start moving to the next steps, but all these little details that I don't want to miss. So most of the work is done. You just gotta make it. Yeah, that's the that's the easy part, right? I just need Emily Blunt as Raylan. I think that's the best casting choice. Alright, let's see what else we need to get going. We're trying to get this to a somewhat finished point before we end the stream. So you can be like, oh yeah, that looks like Misaerx. I don't know if we'll have time to do any of the deep highlights today. Just because I building this up kind of slowly. Kind of figuring this model out. I've never, painted this one, so I'm kind of really just kind of feeling the colors out. Also, I may be just delaying painting these bones because on the body, just because it's a lot of focus. But I think we're about ready once this layer dries. Start adding some washes at the very least. And then follow Drake and Airborne, Raylan and Explore Savaras versus Krug, and Agent Carr versus Isamu rivalries. Yeah, that would be really fun. We could have a couple B plots going on. And oh man, what a great idea! We fan cast the Heroscape movie. Hexhala, I would like to collab with you on that. I have some strong thoughts on that. I don't have a good pick. That's not an obvious pick for Sergeant Drake. That's the one I'm kind of circling back and forth on. I would like young Clint Eastwood, but now he's old, so like I have a bunch of old actors, like actors that are old now that I would have liked for Sergeant Drake. Pierce Brosnan or something like that, but K. Brown is Agent Carr. I don't know the actor off the top of my head. I'll look that up, but it sounds familiar. All I know is I want Adam Driver as Concan, because I think that is a match made in heaven. Okay, so I'm gonna start adding some separate colors. I've just been kind of putting the same colors on here for a bit, but just to kind of get some progress on this figure. Let's add just one more layer of pink-ish. To this right here. This is definitely a figure that once you kind of get the base layer going, you'll definitely fly by a lot faster in the later steps. Adam Driver is hyper. And you know what? Adam Driver is everyone, actually, is what I've decided. Except for the Raylan's Manticore will be by Nicolas Cage. Rawr. Alright, I'm just seeing if there's anything else I can kind of touch up here while I wait. Getting behind the head on these bone horn things. Danny DeVito's Marsu. Yeah, he's kind of Marsu in real life. I've said this before, but Steve Buscemi is Degaxa. Alan Tudyk is the Manticore. Yeah, that makes more sense. He's a pretty good he's a pretty good animal actor. So for the skull, kind of this rope part, let's think about making this I don't know if to make it as a brown or a blackish. I wonder what the official art has it as. Yo, I know that guy. I assume you're talking about me, but it might be Chris Pratt. So based on the context of the chat. Welcome, Joe Crazy, to the said chat. We are graced by your presence. Let's see here. So it is like bone. I'm just trying to figure out. So we're gonna kind of make this like a lighter bone. The easier would just be to make it a different color rope, but that's not how it is. So I think this is gonna go more kind of. Let's get like a yellowish going here. This is a small artistic deviation, but I like a little bit of different colors here on that. I think let's just make it brown. I'll figure out what to do with it later. Some dark brown. Matt Damon as Sergeant Drake. I don't know. I personally don't like Matt Damon, so I disagree. But I do see where you're coming from. Saving Sergeant Drake, lol. Hey Joe. Paul Dano as Tomlin. I'll have to look that one up as well. I watch a lot of movies. I just don't remember actors' names, which is unfortunate for me. What's the cool thing about paint is you can add some kind of distinction between these colors. I wanted just a little bit of separation. I think the official art just has this as gray, but I want this to look a little unique. I was at first resistant to the kind of card art, like the artist art on the cards, but as I've been painting the figures, it's actually a really great reference to have because it really shows you kind of how the lighting works on the figure, and you know, if you're kind of struggling where to put the stuff, you can look at the card art and it will kind of give you a bit of a guide, which is rare that stuff like that happens. But you're like, oh yeah, this is where the light should reflect, and this is the color here. Sometimes if you're like struggling to find a color, you can just kind of take that image and put in color selector, and you can kind of see where that that image comes from. You know, is it more red? Is it more blue? So the painting process I'm doing now is just called detailing. I'm more doing the base coat. The detailing is where I'm going to be working on the bones, the face, really kind of making this model come alive. Right now I'm base coating. I'm kind of doing the small details of the base coat. So it's kind of a gray area, but I'm just kind of blocking out where I want my colors to go. Then after that, we're going to add, typically how I paint is that we add base coat, shade, kind of brighten up base coat, and then a bit of highlights. You can kind of layer up highlights and go from there. There's many different ways to get to that point. It's kind of more of an old school method that I use. There's of course a dozen different ways to do this, but it's very much like that meme: you wet the dries, you dry the wets, then you wet the dries type of deal. So just kind of going back and forth, kind of to the point where I get things to I want them to be. This is kind of the old Citadel method, but it depends on the model. Also, there's just lots of little details. I just want to kind of block everything in, so I kind of know where it's at. Probably should start blocking in the bones as well. I'm going to move to a much smaller brush. Not too small, but enough for a bit more of a brush with more refined points here. Looking forward to seeing the highlights. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get there. I'll try to at least showcase some aspects of it. There's lots of little details in this model that we're still kind of bringing to life here. And also, I'm kind of monologuing, so that's the part of the process as well. Well, let's start moving to the next steps here. I got my night open, and if people want to keep on watching this, and Renegade wants me to keep on being here, I'll kind of keep on at it. Alright, so these bones, we're just going to use a nice tan for them. And just start tracing these out. Well, Paul Dano as Harrison Ford's kid in Cowboys and Aliens became one of my favorite modern actors by playing Brian Wilson and Love and Mercy. I have to check him out. I feel like he's probably, I would recognize him, but the name doesn't ring a bell. And this part is just being patient. Yeah, the highlights, Joe, though, are the it's a really satisfying part once you kind of can get to the highlights, because that's when your model starts to sing. You get to work with light that really starts to catch your eye. Like, the base coat is kind of the most, I'd say, the most important part, but probably the most tedious part, just because you're getting things to a nice solid state. It's not very exciting, it's very important. Oh, you're gonna cause me to do a Google search class here. Since this is the Paul Dano stream now. Oh, I saw him in Swiss Army Man. Okay. Which, that's a fun movie for someone wanting a weird experience. No more comments on that. But it's Daniel Radcliffe's best role. That's who Paul Dano. I was like, that name sounds familiar. And do I have a favorite sculpt from AOA? So I think it's divided between unpainted and painted. Like, so my favorite sculpt that's just pre-painted comes as is Raylan sculpt. I think that's really the strongest, pre-painted sculpt. The colors and all that stuff look really great. The unpainted sculpt, or the sculpt kind of I feel like has a lot of just really fun potential. It's got to be the Admiral. Admiral EJ is just such a cool. I'm a big robot guy, so he's just. I was more excited to paint him than to open him up out of the box. So he's definitely my guy. I was like, I gotta paint this guy first. And I got him. I'm gonna paint like this every Monday going forward, or will the Monday paint stream be various painters? We have a schedule. I think we settled on once a month. Let me double check that real fast here. I can't remember if it was once or twice a month. But I do have a schedule. I'll be doing this pretty regularly. Yeah, so right now it's once per month. I'll be here and streaming and painting. I'll be streaming pretty regularly on my own channel as well, but on the Renegade side, it's gonna be once per month, which is really great. Make a little party, and we can join in. We can paint some scape together. Try to tie it up with new scenario releases, so we kind of can talk about twice a month, alternating between Roguescaper and Louis. Thank you for that. That's what I get for speed reading. Twice a month. So a painter named Louis will also be painting on alternating weeks. Give me a break, and just really happy to be here. We got some great conversation. And some great people here today. Right now we're just going through and doing all these little details, just kind of get some color on them, at least. Let me see the actual model for Misaerx here. Let me see where these colors go. I'm trying to make this as accurate as possible. I just need to zoom and enhance. Alright. So all these are painted here. Alright. So we're just going to keep on these little details. So you want your paint to kind of flow, but you don't want it to be. Right now, my paint's too wet. If you notice, it's kind of flowing into that work. I'm gonna have to go through and clean all that up, which honestly is to be expected with kind of details this precise. It's kind of a back and forth on a model like this, getting kind of runny. But the most important part is to kind of get it all solidly down and then clean up your mistakes. Don't really make a mistake and then like, oh no, I gotta fix that. Just let it be. Mistakes are kind of part of the process. Get the whole Bob Ross happy. Just a little bit too wet right now on the paint side. It just happens. If you notice your paint's kind of flowing and kind of just learning the model and kind of creating like a thin, watery mess. You got too much paint on your brush. Usually is the cause. A good tip is that when you take like the water and paint with a brush, just kind of twist it and then turn it, and then you play with the Admiral EJ that was painted by my hand. It was gorgeous, and he's my favorite Age of Annihilation figure. Yeah, well, first off, really great video that you made playing with him. I was happy to see him get some use, and thank you so much for the compliment. He's a fun figure to paint. He's got really he's got kind of these broad details on him, so he's not as you don't have to pay as much attention as I'm doing now with him, and he's just a really cool. He's probably the unit I think in the game that can do the most per turn. He can rearrange markers for the pirates. He can shoot 4 times and then move the pirates after he shoots. He's Admiral is a powerhouse of a unit. But he's like all the pirates are a bit of a glass cannon. Can't let him die. He's a lot of points in your army. So we gotta protect him. I can't wait till we release those dreadnoughts. Now those are cool units. Those will be fun ones to paint. I like painting the monsters always more than painting people. There's no one gonna be like, that's not how that works. I'm like, you've never seen that. You've never seen a giant alien gorilla. You don't know how that paint colors are supposed to be. But skin tone you have a little bit less flexibility with. Yeah, we'll be here before we know it, hopefully. Thankfully, I have enough stuff to keep me occupied for the meantime, but I am waiting for them. I am excited for what Renegade has planned. Those lava crabs I've been thinking about that have been just mentioned in text form, Which will come first, Dreadnoughts or Grand Theft Auto 6? Now that is the question. Or another Skyrim, that's another one people want. I'm still working on finding the best way to paint these small details. I haven't decided yet if it's better to paint the small details first and then the coat underneath, or do the small details, the coat underneath and then the small details. I'm still back and forth on it. The best, easiest method. Little bones. Alright, let's keep on going. And since we are using a letter color, we're going to go through them all again, just to make sure the color is nice and solid here. Now, if you're kind of new to painting, I wouldn't be intimidated by this process. This is part that you just kind of buckle down and just take a bit of time. It's not necessarily hard, it's just more you want to be focused and patient with all of it. Once you put a wash on and kind of clean it up a bit, all those little details will definitely be kind of covered up. These are the mistakes you're going to make. Let's just put it there. And the color we're working with now is Tomb King Tan. It's a really good tan from Army Painter. It's just got a very nice warm tone to it. Now you may say, hey, that doesn't look very good. It looks kind of messy. I would agree with you, but part of this is just getting through it and cleaning it up. What's the best tip for a beginner miniature painter? One, just learn what it means to thin your paints. I think anything you do after that is just building off that thought. Learn how to control and thin your paints. I think there's a lot of tutorials, but no, it doesn't really matter if you don't know about color or any of that, but once know how paint responds to a model and kind of how it works. And I think that's the most important thing a miniature painter should learn. Second is brush control, kind of in terms of what you should focus on and learn is one, learn what your paint is. You're working with acrylics. It really helps to understand that acrylic paint is essentially a form of plastic. We're working kind of with a modified form of diluted plastic. That's why you want to be really good with your brushes and kind of thin them down, because ultimately, if you don't do that, you're just putting big chunky plastic onto your model. It's not technically plastic, but it's pretty much plastic. Is the best way to think of it. And then, second tip I always tell new painters is it's a process. You're not going to be painting, golden demons on your first try. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the mistakes. Delight in them. Because if you aim for perfection, you're going to be hindered in the whole process. This is a hobby. This is something I take enjoyment in. Every day I'm learning new things, new tips. I'm not the master at this. I always want to be remembered as a student of this, because the learning is part of the fun. Discovering new tips and tricks is really just part of the enjoyment of the process. Is kind of I'm a more practical advice to someone is, you're gonna mess up, and you're gonna have models that you're gonna look back at 3 years from now that aren't going to be good. But if you enjoyed that process to get there, then it was worthwhile. And your paints, I know you used to ask them vinegar tape. And love your own skill. Don't compare yourself to their paint shop. Be happy with what you do. Continue your own skill. Yeah, essentially, I think I touched on that as well. But yeah, this is something that should be restorative and fun. And Hexal's got to go. Have a great stream. Can't wait to see more. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Absolute pleasure having you here. And your paint jobs are great if you're happy with your ability. Yeah. Definitely. It's tough when you kind of get to the stage where you want to advance the next steps, because you start looking at these really incredible paint jobs, and you can't be discouraged. There's this artist called, it's called Orc Butt, and I looked up some of their painting, and they do like videos on YouTube and stuff like that, and it's absolutely incredible. Just their control of color and light is like, it's like Da Vinci level stuff, and it's just like, what do I do? You know, do I throw all my paints and stuff away? But you just can't compare yourself to what other people do. I like painting, and that's all that matters. And I like teaching new people to paint. I feel like I was there. You know, I'm entirely self-taught. I took no classes, none of that stuff. And I have, arthritis in my hands, I have very shaky hands, and those are kind of excuses you can use to hold you back. But at the end of the day, I want some cool painted models. I want to just invest the time and energy into this, so it's all worthwhile. Their tip is really learn how to take care of your brushes. Invest in some brush soap, and learn how to save your brushes, because that will save you a lot of money. When I first started, I just left my brushes dip in the water overnight. I was wondering why my brushes were getting so ruined. So learn how to take care of your brushes. Gotta look up a goat one real fast. So they're kind of black. I'm gonna put some black and brown for the goat horn. Let's make this nice and dark and kind of separated. And then we're adding the same color to the big horns. It's a little too bright. There we go. Adding a slider color to it. Alright, so we're almost getting there. We are working our way through this model. We got these kind of details blocked out. Let's do one more layer with this light tan, just to really make sure we didn't miss anything. And clean that up, and then we'll start adding some fun things to this model. Now, if you're painting this, you don't have to paint every one of these lines, every one of these bones. You could just paint what looks like the prominent pieces, you know, you just paint a couple on the cloth. It's entirely up to you, or you could just choose to ignore them, you know, kind of ignore these side pieces and just kind of say, hey, I don't want to do this now. Entirely up to you. And Derek says, I posted a Sandman figure in the Marvel Crisis Protocol Facebook page. He's on Facebook terrain. He's Heroscape terrain, and now I am telling other users that Heroscape is back. As Borat would say, great success. I like your Marvel Crisis Protocol paints. Good job, Derek. They're always really nice. I'll have to check that out. Superheroes seem like they would be a very hard thing to paint just because of all that spandex and tight clothing. So, that's why I haven't dived too much into it, but glad you enjoy it. It is back. It's a pretty exciting time to be alive for sure. It's exciting to see new people kind of jump in on the Renegade server. Just really excited, like either like, oh, this game is back, or I've never tried, but this game looks awesome. It's exciting to see just kind of this new response to it. You know, I was making content a little bit in this kind of period where it was unconfirmed to be coming back, or a lot, you know, kind of still an active game, but it is a lot more satisfying to be a content creator for a game that's in active development, for sure. Got a little bit more to talk about. There we go. We're getting the foundations laid out here. We'll just make this look all. I had my paints a little bit too wet in this area. That's why it kind of looked so sloppy. But it's always so good just to take your brush and fill in any excess for the maximum effect. And I'm just seeing if there's anything else I want to do before I start darkening it. Like I said, details are kind of a give and take. You put a little here, then you take a little off. I agree. It's more exciting to make content for Heroscape now that it's being produced. There's no empty wall of content to create for it. It's yeah, it's exciting, but also it does mean that projects your to-do list gets filled up a lot more. You know, before it's like, I'll have this video. There's no time crunch on it. You know, I'll make it when I want to. Now it's like, now there's a bit of a. I'm really friends with a lot of the content creators. It's not like competition. We're all pretty cool with each other. We kind of have a bit of a low-key network, you know, we're all pretty respectful towards each other. But it is definitely, you know, a bit of a race to be the first one to comment on new news drops, or to do an idea first. You know, it's kind of fun. It was fun after the first big AOA announcement stream, all the creators like, I did it first. Here's a little late, but here it is. You know, it's just fun to see. I mean, that's good for a game though. Just to have people excited to make stuff for it. And I might want to add just like something on this little cloth in between here. Now let's just add some. These in. Right now, I'm just kind of stalling for time as this red paint dries, so we can put some stuff on it, but we're almost there. When you work with light colors, you want to just use a bunch of thin layers to kind of get to this nice solid point. The MCP figures are slightly scaled up too. Oh yeah. I haven't actually owned any yet. I see them and they look like really cool and fun models for sure. Lots of yellow, white, and pink. Not easy colors to paint. Trust me, as someone who's trying to figure out the best and the easiest way to paint the Hellforge, I sympathize with that. Yellow is a really fun color. I like yellow a lot, but it's a color that you got to be careful with. You got to respect yellow. You know. Especially like that dirty brown yellow of the Hellforge. You just want to be like, how do I get here the easiest way? And I assume you have an eye for finding paint colors, but how often have you been in a figure and go, that shade, right? Like, I assuming like that shade, oh, I'm impressed by the shade. It just kind of depends, you know. I'm actually better at like color matching. Like that's a skill I really excel at as a mini painter. You know, everyone has kind of their own thing. So I kind of just can have a mental library of how to get to a color. But sometimes I'm just more experimenting. I'm like, you know, just trying paints out I've never used before and putting them together. And that's kind of when I have more of that eureka moment. I'm like, oh wait, that looks cool. You know. I painted my Misaerx the other day with a blue and yellow scheme, and I was like, "This is kind of cool colors." I like just kind of sometimes freestyling. There's two parts of your brain you use, you know, when you're painting. There's the kind of the more technical side where you're like, "How do I get this color to, you know, this is what we're looking like here. This red's darker, but we're going to be buffing this up." But for the most part, we're almost kind of, I'd say we're in the 90% range here, which is pretty satisfying. You know, it's like, oh, cool, we matched that correctly. And then there's that other part where it's like, you kind of mess with colors and how they interact with each other. And that part's just really fun because there's a lot more wild discovery. And Derek says, I like how each creator has their thing that they do, and then not that's all they do. Yeah, everyone has their own unique take on things, so even people can do the same thing and respond it differently. Someone made the joke the other day about my channel that I do everything for Heroscape except play the actual game, which I I kind of agree with. That's why I sent all those pieces when I got them to some other content creators, because actually when I play Heroscape, I just like to play the game. I don't like to turn a production into it. I probably might do it in the future, but Alright, so... And I think we kind of got this going. Let me just put the last colors on, and then we might call this for the day. I want to get some shade on, but I'm going to let this fully dry and work on some of these details off screen. But this is how we're looking. We're going to put some shade on this and work on the reds and stuff like that. Man, I do want to get to that. It's kind of fun though, but maybe I'll finish this on my own channel for another day. Because this has been a really fun model to get going. Now we're adding a bit of highlights to this hair. I kind of just started doing that without realizing. I just added this gargoyle gray to this darker base. And alright, let's so this is how we're looking so far. You know, I'll try to finish this live elsewhere, just so all those interested can kind of see the results. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and watching. I will be doing this every other week on this channel, so definitely keep on stopping by. You know, if you're interested in Heroscape, if you're just kind of getting exposed to it, definitely check out Renegade's website, as they have a whole lot of new stuff, master set, battle box, and all these figures that you can paint for yourself. So definitely be sure to check that out. And if you like some more painting content, you can definitely check out my channel, the Roguescaper, as I do a lot of Heroscape related stuff. And just catching up in chat before I end here. And if I hate it, you get that tip from me. I'm back and forth. Honestly, there's two ways I'm going about it. It's either a pink undercoat or a ochre undercoat. So I'm trying to find the one I like the most. But this is what we got so far. Really, really great model to paint. And I'm gonna go get some dinner because I'm kind of hungry. You all take care, and I'll see you.